Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here. Well, Smallville. Smallville was special, wasn't it? And I think when there's nothing in your present life as captivating, like something in your past, you go back to the past to seek comfort. And that's what I've done with Smallville. So I've just completed Smallville season 1. I think I've been watching an episode a day for the past couple of weeks. And I just completed it. And you know what? I was watching the finale, Tempest, and I was just crying. I wasn't really that sad when Whitney was originally leaving. I was just thinking, well, he's the guy who has to go so Clark and Lana can get it on. But I don't know why. I was sad this time. I was crying. I realised why I was crying. Because Smallville was amazing. It was more to us than a TV show. This was the Bible of Superman. But even though the Superman thing was in the forefront of the show, it was its own thing as well. It was special. How did they make Smallville so special? The characters. Season 1 was all about the world building and the character development. Without what they did with season 1, you would never have had a season 2. And I'll tell you my theory about season 2 as well after I finish rewatching it. But season 1, some people may even call season 1 quite boring, but the character development and world building, the Clark and Lex friendship set up, even what they do with Clark and Lana, within the second season, Lana starts to mistrust Clark and realise this guy's lying to me. I saw him saving me in the truck, in the tornado, and he's lying to me. So she's starting to doubt him as well. And we get to the end of the second season, of course. They start to get it on because, of course, never going to last. But yes, so I love the setup in season 1. Now, credit to WB, the network that was airing Smallville at the time. Of course, sadly, the WB became the CW. The CW is a merger between CBS and Warner Brothers. The worst thing that ever happened to Smallville. But credit to the WB for allowing our Miles to set up season 1. And that is the key to the longevity of Smallville. Without that first season, you wouldn't have got none of it. It was brilliant. And I love in the final episode of season 1, you can see that Lionel's desperate to stop Lex from staying in Smallville because all of a sudden Lex is happy and he's starting to drift away from Lionel. And Lionel doesn't like that. Lionel likes to have power. Listen, likes to have power. Listen, Lionel was an amazing character. And I mean, back then it wasn't really fashionable to have kind of the parents involved because it was kind of a teen drama. But obviously Lex was like in his 20s. But he was John Glover and Alan Miles developed a fantastic character. And it was obvious. And I'm assuming Whitney made way to make Lionel Luthor a regular. And, sorry, Eric Johnson, I love you. I've even spoken to Eric before on Twitter. Great guy. And he's actually forged a great career for himself now. But, Lionel Luthor as a regular. No-brainer, wasn't it? Absolutely fantastic. And then you've got all the stuff going on with Clark and Chloe. They're going to the school dance. And the whole thing was brilliantly. Got Roger Nixon as well. But if we look at season 1 all round, it's really a great season. And I suppose you can cut Smallville season 1 into 3 parts. So you've got the setup with the pilot. Then you've got the middle episodes, which aren't middling, they're very good. So you've got the thing with the crooked cop, like threatening Clark to help him. You've got Zero. You've got the one with the 2 guys who used to be salesmen. And now all they have to do is, because they've been infected by kryptonite, all they have to do is touch other people to control them. And that's a great episode, especially with the end bit with Clark and Lex. I wonder if that will ever happen to us. Trust me, Clark, our friendship will be the stuff of legends. That moment, I still bawl out in tears when I see that moment. You will never see something so special on an Arrowverse show or any other superhero show. I'm in tears because we know that Clark and Lex can't remain friends. They can't. It's devastating. It's heartbreaking. We know what's going to happen to them. Unfortunately, they're going to become enemies one day. And that's the beauty of this friendship. They don't know that's going to happen. Jonathan kind of can see what's going to happen and he's trying to warn Clark. but Clark's not having any of it. I choose to believe in people. That's exactly what Superman is. And some of the dialogue used in Smallville is so Superman. It's so on the nose of being Superman. It was amazing. And let's be honest here. That dynamic between Clark and Lex. But they're not just two, but two of the fantastic dynamics of Smallville. Lex and Lionel and Clark and Lex. This is the thing that really captivated people's imagination. And I just did a video before this talking how they missed a trick with Killer Frost and Barry Allen. They should have done the same thing in The Flash as they did with Clark and Lex in Smallville. But they don't have the imagination. They're thinking of other things, which are not story things, I'm afraid. So that's a shame. But for Smallville lit the blue touch paper. Smallville is the best superhero TV show ever made in the genre because it was a show that wasn't just about action and superhero stuff. That stuff was brilliant because Clark's got powers and he's saving people. He's doing everything that he's going to do as Superman without the costume. And I never really understood people going, he doesn't want to say, what's the point? It's a pre-Superman story, take it or leave it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, obviously Tom should have worn the suit at the end of season 10. Listen, we'll talk about season 10 when we get there. First of all, we're on season 1, and really, I shed a lot of tears watching this season. It is special. It means something to us. It's not just another TV show. It's one of the great classic shows. It's up there with so many great classic shows. But this was the beginning of a new age of television in America, and I said it out loud at the time. Watching Smallville, you could tell it was incredibly different. And it was, as Akim was saying, about the characters. The dialogue was some of the best dialogue. Well, Smallville was also very educational, with Lex and Lionel spewing out this stuff about Alexander the Great, yada, yada, yada. They were teaching me stuff at 26. Do you know what I mean? 46 now, yeah, getting on, I'm afraid. But I'll never forget Smallville. And this, as I say, I've probably seen season 1 more than the other seasons. It's a bit like Superman the movie. I've seen Superman the movie more than 2, 3 and 4. I've seen the Star Wars A New Hope more than every single Star Wars film put together because that's the beginning. That's the world building. That's the setup. That's the one, that you'll never forget. Because you'll never forget a beginning of a journey. You'll never forget the end of the journey and the beginning of the journey. I will say this without going too deeply into 10. I think the beginning of Smallville's journey was certainly better than the ending, but they did try hard. But we'll talk more about that another time. But yeah, this season, as I say, so you've got the middle with Phelan and Club Zero and all that. It kind of goes into a lull with the one with the girl who can control the bees. Probably my least favourite episode. But then the finale, I mean, it really gets those juices flying for season 2, doesn't it? And I remember watching that finale. I think I had to wait 2 years because we moved here to Cyprus and there was no Netflix or Amazon Video or anything like that back then. You just couldn't watch these things. So when I moved back to the UK for a little while, I actually binged season 2 and 3 on DVD. There was no Blu-ray back then. And it was just such a great experience. I mean, Smallville season 1 is definitely an 8 out of 10 TV show because season 1 is not without its flaws. Of course it's not. Because nothing like this had ever been attempted before in this way. And look, a lot of the young actors were really raw. You could tell that. Even some of the filmmaking was very raw. But when they got into it, and I think the people who were behind Smallville even admitted that at the beginning it was all kind of, flying on the seat of their pants, which is great that they admit that. And you can tell that. But that's what gave Smallville its charm in season 1. You could tell everyone was working so hard to put something special together. So when there are flaws in a situation like that, you forgive them because you understand that everyone's heart is the right place. And you didn't worry about the flaws because you had the Lex and Lionel, the Clark and Lex. You knew they were building something really, really special. And it truly was something really, really special. I don't think there'll ever be a comic book TV show as special to me as Smallville was. And that first season was the beginning of a beautiful journey.